Getting ready to start. If everybody will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing afterwards. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Recently, we lost 3 town residents that had served the town well. Their names are Mary Nagel Franey, William R. Hamilton, and Thomas McIsaac. Could we please have a moment of silence? Thank you. I'll just briefly explain those 3 people whose names I just mentioned. Mary Nagel Franey, 93 years old, was a homemaker and cafeteria manager for the Abington Public Schools. She was active in St. Vincent de Paul and Meals on Wheels. William Hamilton passed away peacefully, surrounded by his family after a long illness, a lifelong Abington resident, Abington High School, chairman of the Permanent Building Committee, and it's not listed here, but he was actually a member of the Finance Committee when myself and I think Andy were on the committee. Tom McIsaac, lifelong resident of Abington, a member of the Board of Health that I had the opportunity to serve with him, and a assistant football coach for Abington High School. They will all be missed. We just have a couple of public announcements. I think Kevin has something.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make notice that on Friday, August 23rd, at the Senior Citizen Center, we'll have the annual Senior Citizen Cookout from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's a change in venue. As a lot of you may remember, we had it at the old VFW before. We're moving it to the Abington Senior Center, and as in the past, any local official, department head that is interested and available, I'd welcome you to come down and help us serve the seniors. So we're all ready to go. Again, it's Friday, August 23rd at the Abington Senior Center, 11 to 1.
I know you and Tom can go to that, but what, Andy and I be able to go?
Sure.
Okay, just want to make sure. I'm quite old enough for that. We have a notice from the Abington Police Department that went out, I guess I found it on Facebook, but this weekend there were a lot of break-ins on cars, and most of the cars were actually not locked. As many as 12 break-ins in a couple areas of town. So the police just want to remind everyone to be vigilant and lock your doors and remove any valuables. So, public announcements. We have Deborah DeFranco, who's going to talk about a day in the past. Deborah, wherever you want to go. You want to be on the microphone? So good.
You're now going to partake in the comic stylings of Android and Android.
We would like to, for your attention, I'd like to bring up that we give our generous thanks to Robin Fernald and the Abington Historical Commission. We also give thanks to our Recreation Director, Peter Serino, and we also give thanks to Bill Davis for his photography, for his cinematic talents that he will be taking
He'll be taking part in his Abington Cable. Without him, we wouldn't be seeing much of anything. We'd like to invite everybody to join us for a spectacular time, a day in the past at a summer picnic.
This event will take place August 10th, 2013 at Allen Grove Park in Park Avenue in Abington, Massachusetts, for any of you who have forgotten where you pay your land taxes to. This event will take the time of 11:15 a.m. It will end at 3 p.m. And sorry to announce there'll be no rain date if this is supposed to happen.
Because if it rains, just think, it contributes to soggy sandwiches, potato salad, soup, and then every single activity that we have planned becomes water sports. So in the event of heavy showers, it will be canceled, and definitely hurricane conditions, stay home, batten down the hatches.
We bring this up because 19th century picnics were important in social events.
Yes, they were very important. And you're going to be amused with historical reenactors. We'll have ladies, gentlemen,
including Senator Henry Wilson,
as well as some soldiers, too, from the American Civil War, from the historical group. the U.S. Sanitary Commission Boston branch. And if you want to know what the U.S. Sanitary Commission is about, you're going to have to show up, ask us. We'll be more than happy to tell you.
Give us a visit.
And we're going to be picnicking in true 19th century style, which won't be exactly with disposable picnic items. We will actually have proper tables, tablecloths, and we bring our dishes and china. So it's definitely a different time. We'll also be eating period foods.
Very expensive nowadays. Well, we ask everyone, including people who show up to the event, to bring your own picnic lunch and join us.
Yes, and come and play games with us. We're going to have graces for the young ladies. We'll be doing ring toss, as well as maybe some other little things provided on how much space that we're going to have to run the games, as well as, don't forget, swimming.
We also ask you to please bring your own voice for a sing-along with all the picnic participants like us.
We're going to try to sing a lot of patriotic Northern tunes, although I will have to admit that the Southerners did have better songs.
I'll admit that too.
Yes. They had Dixie, they had a lot of different songs.
That was Lincoln's favorite.
Yes, it was. Oh, Blue-tailed Fly was another one.
Mhm.
Also, what we will be doing is having a short talk on swimming attire fashions, as well as how Victorians stayed cool in the summer. This is the advent before air conditioning. So if you want to know if I'm hot while I'm wearing this, I'll tell you exactly how we did keep cool.
And we also would like to ask you to please join us in the dip of a pool. And do not worry, the lifeguard will be on duty, unless if the rain happens, of course.
Right. Anyone who's planning on swimming, if you do not already have a season pass for the pool and you'd like to come just for the day, the passes are $5 for a resident of Abington and $8 for non-residents. We definitely welcome people from the outskirts, so if you have friends and family from other towns who you think like to partake and enjoy the day with us, they can pay an $8 fee. All of the swim passes will be available over at the Snack Shack, and they can be purchased right there on site.
Mhm.
And let's see, other than that, we do hope that everybody will find some time in their busy schedule to take a little trip in the past. It requires no batteries, no quarters, no electricity, and we hope to see you there.
Very good.
Thank you, Debbie. It's going to be a tough act to follow. I'd like to bring to the microphone Robert Pratt, who is our Interim Director of Veteran Services. Do you need a straight man too, or are you all set?
Usually when I speak in public, I don't write anything down, but I wrote something down this time because I thought it was more special than ever. I want to thank the Board of Selectmen to allowing me the time to come here to honor Billy V. Billy V, we can never pronounce his last name, that's why we call him Billy V. For the last 20 years or so, he's been unselfishly taking his time to go down to the veterans' lots and the GAR mound and keeping everything the way it's supposed to be in the cemetery. He doesn't ask for any help. The only thing he asks for is when he needs supplies for fertilizer and weed killer and something extra to kill the ants under the stones, he calls the veterans agent. So that's about the only time he asks for any money. Other than that, he does everything himself up until a few years ago. He's enlisted several people, including me, to help him. This last year was awful. Spreading mulch in 90% humidity was not good. When I told him he had to be here tonight, I said, Bill, you got to be here to the Board of Selectmen meeting. We're giving you an award. He said, what do you mean giving me an award? I didn't earn anything. I said, well, that's not. As you can see, all these people here, they know you earned it, and that's why they're here. He thought it was for someone else, and he still today, when he came in here, he thought it was for someone else until he read the agenda. And this is the kind of guy that Billy V is. He doesn't. He's very humble. He doesn't take recognition very well. He doesn't take recognition very well. So I want to call them up here and give them something of appreciation. I want to let everyone know that Ginny Ledoux wrote the words because I couldn't come up with anything. It says here, with gratitude and appreciation, we recognize William Billy V. Vignani. That's what we call him, Billy V. For his many years of devoted service as keeper of the Veterans Lot at Mount Vernon Cemetery, Town of Abington Memorial Day Committee, May 27, 2013.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's tough taking an award for something you had so much fun doing. Thank you all very, very much. I appreciate this very much.
Thank you. The last time I saw Billy step up to a microphone, he belted out a Johnny Cash tune, so we appreciate you for not doing that, Billy.
Don't encourage it.
Next up, we have our fire chief, Chief John Nuttall. If Chief would like to come up, and he has quite a few things he wants to take care of, and maybe he can start out by telling us a little bit about some of the activities they've had the last week or two. It's been a busy, busy time.
Thank you. I think we're going to be taking over the room for a moment, if you don't mind. We have quite the crowd here tonight, because we have a few things we want to talk about. The reason the fire department is here tonight in fairly large numbers, as well as in dress uniform, because it's difficult sometimes to get these members cleaned up as much as they are, especially following the incidents we've had recently. But we're here to honor 4 people tonight, members of both the Abington Fire Department, new members, as well as an Abington resident that was very instrumental in helping to prevent a serious fire from becoming a very devastating fire. I did send the board a letter on this, and I'd like to have a commendation. If Derek, you want to Dylan, you want to come back up? Apologize. This is Dylan Regan. He is an Abington resident. He's 10 years old. You want to stand right over here so that I can see you. The podium's going to be, there you go. And on July 18th, we had a fire at number 2 Forsyth Drive. Forsyth Drive is the multifamily apartment buildings right up the street from Town Hall here, right off of Route 18. Dylan is a resident at one of the units at Forsyth Drive, and we had a fire that afternoon, or they had a fire, I should say. Dylan was in the swimming pool at the development, and he noticed, looking out the window from the pool, that there was a fairly serious fire occurring at the building right next door to him. And Dylan's 10 years old, and I applaud him because instead of sitting there watching the fire like some adults would have done, wondering where the fire department is, he actually pointed out, I think his grandmother was there at the time, as well as the building management, there's a serious fire, somebody called 911, he kind of directed them. We, almost at the same time, were receiving an automatic fire alarm from that location. So we were getting ready to respond to this location anyway. However, by Dylan spotting the fire, and now we had a 911 verbal confirmation that there was actually a fire, this is not just an alarm coming in, that changes our response tactics. That initiated us to send a fire engine, in this case from the town of Whitman, because they were closest, directly to the scene before we even got there. That's a new mutual aid policy we just put into effect. That would not have occurred had Dylan not found that fire and somebody called to confirm that they're actually seeing a fire. By doing that, by having that extra engine there, as well as the members of the Abington Fire Department that responded, we were able to keep a very serious fire that occurred in the outside second floor balcony area of a 3-story, 12-unit residential complex from getting into the roof area. Because had that occurred, in all likelihood, we probably would have lost the entire building for a number of reasons we won't get into now, but it's just due to the building construction. So because of that, we were able to get there quick, get the right resources there on time. So Dylan, we have a couple of things here for you. First is just a commendation you can hang on your wall. It just says the Abington Fire Department Fire Safety Certificate to certify that Dylan Regan helped to stop a building fire at number 2 Forsyth Drive by notifying others to call 911 on July 18th, 2013. That's yours. Thank you very much. This is just another little something you can look at afterwards. It's also yours from the Abington Fire Department, and as well as the management at Havana in Abington, the management company, want to thank you because you saved millions of dollars worth of damage that could have occurred to everybody in that building. So we want to thank you.
Good job, Dylan.
Good job, buddy.
The other reason we're here, and I'll try not to take up too much time, I know you have a busy agenda, is to have what we call a badge pinning ceremony for our 3 newest members of the Abington Fire Department. These 3 members are replacing 3 members that retired earlier this year, and it's quite a process to become a firefighter, especially a firefighter paramedic. Because of that length of the process through civil service, the process of trying to get them through the Massachusetts Fire Academy, as well as with the 3 retirements, that created a void within our department that now we're low on personnel that we have to try to fill those vacancies. So what we have done is we've hired these 3 individuals, and they're actually actively working in your community now prior to going to the Mass Fire Academy. There's very careful ways we're able to do this because we don't want to put either the new firefighters, the current firefighters, or certainly the public in any danger by sending some personnel that are not fully trained into an environment where they don't belong. So the 3 individuals that we have hired each have certain strengths that we're able to use, put them on currently while they wait to go to the Fire Academy. The first one is Derek Haimati. Just a quick brief on Derek. Derek was a firefighter paramedic for the Lakeville Fire Department, and he had just enough experience that we were comfortable putting him actually on a shift. He has somewhat limited abilities. However, the last couple of weeks, we've had some major fires here in town. Coincidentally, Derek was the pump operator for 2 of those fires, which means he's running the fire pump on the first engine that's actually attacking the fire. And it's not just one hose coming out. He was actually responsible for multiple hoses, multiple lines coming in and out of those engines when he was doing it. And one of the reasons we saved, I think, number 2 Forsyth Drive, as well as a fire we had Saturday up on Bedford Street, Derek was the pump operator, and he's taken the limited training we've given him specifically to do that task, and he excelled at that. And I want to thank you for that. Derek is a corporal in the 82nd Airborne in the United States Army. Again, he has enough firefighting knowledge to be assigned to a work group until he attends the Mass Fire Academy in September. And he is going to be pinned by his badge by his dad. Is Jim here? Your dad, Jim? Get this out for you. Probably should have showed you how to do that first. Thank you very much. Some of us are not as good as jewelry as some. Congratulations, Jim. The next 2, and these are in no particular order. Michael Kologe. Mike, if you want to come up. Mike is an Abington resident. He has been in the emergency medical service for 14 years, most, I think, with Fallon Ambulance. He's been a paramedic for 7 years, I believe. And he is assigned 42 hours a week to Rescue 2, which is our 2nd ambulance. So Mike and Kate, which you'll meet momentarily, we're using them as their paramedic skills only. Very limited firefighting skills. They did help us at a couple fires getting the hydrant ready, but they're not going into any buildings yet until they've had the training. However, they're both licensed paramedics by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and we're using those skills, hoping even to break even in the cost of paying their salaries until they go to the academy by running that second ambulance, when the second ambulance is operational. Michael is going to be pinned by his dad, Stephen. Last but certainly not least is firefighter Catherine Klein. Catherine's also a licensed paramedic. Kate was in the military police in the United States Army serving in Iraq. She is also assigned 42 hours a week currently to Rescue 2 with Mike until she goes to the fire academy, and hopefully Mike and Kate are going to go to the academy in November. We're trying to bump that date up if we can, but in the meantime, they're working on Rescue 2 in your community. They have been for a couple of weeks. And Kate is going to be pinned by her son, Tyler. We do have paramedics standing by. And we also asked Leanne Adams, I think she's out in the, if she's going to swear them in tonight in front of everybody. They'll take the oath for Abington.
Of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The Charter of Abington. And I will faithfully. And I will faithfully. To the best of my ability. To the best of my ability. Discharge the duties. Discharge the duties. Of the office to which I have been appointed. The office to which I have been appointed. Thank you.
Congratulations. 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 Congratulations.
Want to take a short break, guys?
Just one last thing, and then we're done, if you don't mind. Well, this is public announcements, if you don't mind. Could I have firefighter Kroll to come on up? Firefighter Kroll, this is kind of his, not assignment, this is his doing, but just a public announcement that the Abington Firefighters Local 208 is also going to be sponsoring another firefighters muster. A little bit different this year. Last year was the first year in many years that we've done it. And this is going to be sponsored and run by the Abington Firefighters Local 208. This will be Sunday, August 18th at 11 o'clock on Memorial Field behind the Frollo this time. I believe the Abington Lions Club is going to have a concession stand there. And we've invited numerous area fire departments to attend. So Matt's in charge of that. I just want to thank you. If you see his face around there, he'll be putting up the posters around town, I think, for that. So thank you, Matt, for doing that.
Chief, what time is that again?
11 a.m.
11 o'clock.
Thank you.
We'll take a short little break so you guys can, unless you want to stick around for the fun part of the meeting. A 6:30 appointment, we have a change of hours from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Current hours, Monday through Sunday. The request to go to 24 hours, Monday through Sunday, Abington Citgo, 115 Brockton Ave. Do we have the parties from Abington Citgo? I believe it was Mr. I don't have it.
Durrani.
Mr. Durrani. Okay, representing Mr. Durrani, we have
Attorney George Whiting, 100 Colonel Hunt Drive. Good evening.
Evening, George.
It was a little less than a year ago that we first appeared before the board, and there were a number of complaints that had been lodged against Abington Citgo, Mr. Durrani, and I guess the hours that were kept, some allegations of the car wash opening early, not closing on time, perhaps excess noise, bright lights, you name it, and Mr. Durrani has taken to heart the various objections that were put forth by one particular of his neighbors, and he has also taken to heart and heeded well the warnings, if you will, for lack of a better word, of a Selectman Donovan, who had indicated that his desire was that Mr. Durrani run his business in a neighborly fashion and accede to the needs and the wants of the neighborhood. I would submit to you tonight that Mr. Durrani has done all of those things while he continues to be on the premises, usually no less than 7 days a week, overseeing everything that happens. He has seen to it that the lights were dimmed, that there were buffers put around the lights themselves so that they would shine more down than out, if you will. He's policed very carefully the opening and closing of his car wash to make sure it did not open early nor close late. He has made sure that there are no deliveries outside of the usual business hours of gasoline to the tanks that he maintains. I would point out that he's very, very competitive with other gas stations in the neighborhood, keeping his prices most reasonable at this time when everything seems to be getting very unreasonable, if you will. And again, he has heeded well the warnings and the suggestions of the board. As a result of that, he finds that extending his hours of operation would be very helpful to him, very advantageous indeed. And while he has tried to maintain the excellence that you, through your warnings and requests, had made, he feels that he has acceded to those demands and those warnings, and therefore is worthy of the consideration for the extension of the hours that we seek this evening. He would be in a far better position than I to explain perhaps some of the things that he would like to do, the extension of the hours, whatever the board might see fit to do. I note that there are other filling stations within the town of Abington that enjoy a 24-hour-a-day license and permit to operate. And I would also indicate that his little grocery that he has there for convenience and so forth would stay open if the board sees fit and run commensurate with his filling station. The car wash business would not open any earlier than was permitted in the beginning, would close no later than was permitted in the beginning. And I would ask Mr. Durrani just to speak to the board briefly and just let you know where he stands on the situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Zahid Durrani. I'm running the Citgo gas station at 115 Brockton Avenue. Due to all those restrictions, I lost quite a bit business and the money too. So I especially ask you to extend the hours, especially in the morning. And I'm trying my best and doing my best to keep noise down, light down, and keep operation down. Thank you.
I'll just note one thing. I probably should have said this beforehand. It's not technically a licensing decision. It's basically a public discussion because we've had issues in the past. So it's not really a licensing decision, so to speak. So, but Kevin?
If I could, Attorney Whiting, in one of the issues, I think you mentioned that there were other gas stations in a similar operation in the town that enjoy 24-hour coverage, and I think I would like to probably get an idea on how many of them we actually have and the proximity to your location. I understand completely what your request is, and I think, in order to be fair to everyone involved, it'd be better to get a broad spectrum of, okay, who in like circumstances has it, and are you, in fact, in an unfair advantage? Do you happen to, I apologize, I should have asked this beforehand, but do you have any information like that with you?
My understanding, viewing myself, the mobile station at Howard's Corner, I believe, is open around the clock. And then at the Baptist Church corner of 58 and 139, they advertise that they're open 24/7. They are some distance, I think everyone would realize, from Mr. Durrani's station up in the Abington Center, if you will.
Right. And I think that the question really becomes is that when we're looking at the minutes today, in fact, I was the one that made the motion back in February, where we in fact conditioned the underground license, which under Chapter 148 would then run with the land. So I guess the question becomes, from a technical standpoint, whether we would need a public hearing, an advertised public hearing on that. And I think along with that request, the question then becomes, in my mind, is if we had the building inspector give us a report, in terms of other businesses that are in a similar situation. Now, am I reading this wrong, or? We conditioned, as I recall, the underground license back in February. Is that correct?
I believe the conditions were placed on the...
Was it on the license?
On the gas station. Yeah, because they were brought before you initially upon a complaint.
Okay, so the question, so it was conditioned, the gas station was conditioned. Is it your application to pump gas 24 hours?
Primarily, yes.
Okay. Well, let me say this about that. I think, at least from my perspective, I would like to maybe have the opportunity to have a comparison, if we could, from the building inspector to get an idea on what other stations in town may have, enjoyed that right. And I guess, then, if that being the case, and if it was truly conditioned on the license itself, then perhaps we may need an advertised public hearing if we're going to change that condition. No?
My understanding is that it is not a condition on the underground storage tank license. It is the conditions are put on under the bylaw, which provides the selectmen the opportunity to set reasonable restrictions in response to abutters' complaints for businesses, even that are zoned and working appropriately within the zone. So this is a response to the bylaw at the time, the general bylaw, responding to complaints. There's no restriction on the underground storage tank license that puts conditions of hours. That's not what happened in 2012.
I tend to disagree, Rick, only because just as far as the minutes reflect, it was agreed to place restrictions on the license as follows. Gas station to be open Monday through Sunday, 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Car wash to be opened Sunday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Motion by Donovan to approve the license with the restrictions that must be adhered to. So it sounds, at least in the minutes, it reflects that the restrictions were part of the license that was granted.
I disagree with you. I'm in a unique position to say.
I know.
Yeah, you weren't here.
Well, and I don't recall specifically, but I'm just going by what the
Right,
minutes reflect.
I think we want to differentiate between licensing with underground storage tank and the
Right.
licensing, and I want to be careful with that terminology, licensing of an operation, so.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think, obviously, we couldn't condition the underground license as it related to the car wash. And there was a lot of discussion with council on that very issue, because there was a question of that very nature, is what we could condition, what we couldn't. If we were looking solely at the underground license itself, then we would have to condition it solely to that issue. The question we had at that particular time was more on the operation of the car wash, if memory serves me. So then the question begs itself as to, with that said, the vote was actually, well, as Andy indicates, the minutes were to condition the license. And if we're going to change a condition of the license, I think we need advertised public hearing to do so. And therein is the confusion, I think, because when we did it, and it was very confusing at the time, in all fairness to everybody. In fairness to everybody involved, it was very confusing. And as you can see, I'm stuttering and stammering right now because I'm trying to remember exactly what we did. But because Chapter 148 is the fire prevention law, and we have certain authority under that to condition a license. The issue of the car wash, which was the central question before us at that point in time, would fall, as the town manager indicates, under the land use bylaw. How those two merge, I'm not 100% sure right now. And I think the question, if we were solely to do it under the land use bylaw, I would submit then, it would be just that. I don't know if we're conditioning the license itself, whether we need an advertised public hearing or not.
You're looking at me and it makes me a little nervous. If it's, I don't know that you're speaking for the whole board, Mr. Donovan, but if that's the case, certainly if this were handled by the board at a future date, we could get some of the information you would seek from the building department on it.
Yeah.
And we could also straighten